Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your Ruben Amorim press conference reaction for Liverpool versus Manchester United. And there are a number of big updates here. New deal for Harry Maguire confirmed by Ruben Amorim. Ahmad deal, very, very close, confirmed by Ruben Amorim. Marcus Rashford out of the Liverpool game, confirmed by Ruben Amorim. And also the desire to do transfers in January, confirmed by Ruben Amorim. So lots to get involved in here. I'm pleased about the transfer thing because that's been my theory for a while now. I'm absolutely convinced that we will do business in January and that a lot of the story is just scaremongering for some unknown reason by the powers that be. But lots to get into there. And he spoke about leaders. He spoke about the Liverpool game. So lots to get in. Smash a like, get your comments in as per usual. Bowen says, you're looking very handsome today. Thank you, pal. Very cold today. Very cold today. Rub your hands together. Anyway, let's start off. Well, let's start off with, there's a few big things to talk about there. Let's start off with Rashford. Rashford is out of the game against Liverpool. It's been confirmed as illness. Amorim basically said that nothing has changed with Rashford. He's the same as any other player, but he will miss the game against Liverpool with illness. This is why communities like this are very, very, very important, because already people are saying what we already know, because we don't have memories like goldfish, and we do actually remember what has happened before. Marcus Rashford was sent home ill the day before he did the interview with Henry Winter, which was the week before Christmas. So Marcus Rashford's been ill twice in the space of 3 weeks. That could be unfortunate, or it could be an excuse. I would lean on the excuse and say that it's in everybody's interest that Marcus Rashford is ill rather than dropped, because he wouldn't have been in the team on Sunday anyway, and he wouldn't have been on the bench either. So I think it makes a lot of sense to be ill whilst you are trying to sort a loan or transfer out of Manchester United. You know, we most of us know it's not true, but we can't confirm it. And if he's dropped for the Liverpool game, then it's just more of a drama either way than him being ill. So, you know, I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I don't think there's much of a story there. I think from a PR point of view, it suits both sides. You're not dropped, and you're not in the team. So Amorim wins and Rashford wins, and he wouldn't have been in the team anyway. With Algate and Bruno back, he wouldn't have made that bench. No chance. So it suits him, and I think it suits us as well. I was watching the show this morning with Beth about Napoli. Since then, Ben Jacobs has come out and said that, look, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that Napoli could move for Marcus Rashford in the January transfer window. It could be a loan deal, but it depends what other offers are on the table on whether Man United will negotiate. I think that the minute you start saying that you're going to loan Rashford, you look for the best loan deal you can get, because a lot of people will want him on loan. They might not want him on a transfer, but a lot of people will want him on loan, because the difference between a transfer and a loan is there's just nothing to lose on a loan. You get a player in who will cost you way less than a transfer, who's got a point to prove that could really help you in the second half of the season. So I think there'll be a big queue of people wanting him on loan, and maybe Napoli will be one of those. But we need to get that sorted. We need to get Casemiro and him sorted ASAP. And you know what? Him not being involved in the Liverpool game is just another step forward to that. So I'm not bothered about it. And as I said, from a PR point of view, it helps Rashford and it helps the club, because he wouldn't have been playing anyway. And drop doesn't sound, ill doesn't sound as bad as being dropped. Couple of other things, transfers we will talk about. Let's talk about this new deal for Harry Maguire. What are your thoughts on this? Are you happy with this? We were speaking about this actually last night, weren't we? There was talk from The Telegraph and James Ducker saying that Harry Maguire, 190 grand a week. United don't want to extend the contract. They're talking about a new contract. And yet 24 hours later, they've extended the contract. So that information that The Telegraph had obviously wasn't completely accurate, because Amorim has confirmed that they will extend the contract. He had this to say. He basically said that Manchester United have triggered the additional year option of Harry Maguire's contract. We will trigger our option. We need him a lot. He needs to improve as a leader because we are starving for leaders on the pitch. I mean, look, that is an incredible, true statement from Amorim again. How many times do we sit here and converse about the lack of leaders in a Manchester United side? And he's absolutely correct. And the fact that he's saying that Maguire needs to improve as a leader means that Amorim doesn't view him as perfect. But we all know Maguire is a leader in some sense. Might not be the perfect leader, but we don't have any leaders. So when you have somebody who has leadership capabilities, they become even more valuable. So I can see that. That makes sense. And I said last night, I would rather extend his contract for 1 year and get rid of him for nothing than give him a 2 or 3 year contract on 150 grand or whatever it would have been. So I think the right decision has been made. The only thing, look, there's always two sides to a coin, and the only thing I would say on a negative, and I said it on Twitter as well, is that people are losing their jobs. People aren't getting Christmas bonuses. People aren't getting Christmas parties. Charities are losing money. We've just extended Maguire for another year on 190k a week, and he's not worth 190k a week. So you could look at it like that. I agree with extending him, but his wage is a disgrace, and he's not 190k centre-back. So, we are paying that for another year, and we're cutting money from charities. So I still think that's a valid question to Ineos. Why are you extending a player who's not worth it on that money? But the player is worth it. It doesn't make sense what I've just said, does it? The player staying is valuable. His wage is not right. He's not that wage. He's not worth that wage. You go and look at the best centre-backs in England. He's being paid paid better than most of them. And we're talking Salibas and people like that. So his wage is not right when the club are cutting people's jobs and charity contributions. But I do agree that we need to keep a player like that around for a year, because Johnny Evans is gone in the summer. I mean, happy birthday, Johnny Evans. He's 37. He's not staying next year. So with Evans going, you do need some of these leaders. But if we had leaders, he'd be gone, I think. So I think that explains it. Methane Man says, was there anything asked about Ahmad's contract? Yes, there was. In relation to Ahmad, this is what Amorim had to say. Manchester United are close to reaching an agreement for Ahmad's new contract. I don't think there's any doubt about Ahmad. I think there's a little bit of nervousness in some areas of the fan base because he's been such an important player. And he reflects everything that we want in a Man United player at the moment. But it's never been in doubt. I think it might have been in doubt under Ten Hag, but I think since Amorim's come in, that's never going to be in doubt. So Ahmad will sign a new deal. Brandon's given us a super chat. He wants to talk about Maguire. He says, I'd rather keep Maguire and have the younger players look to him for how to conduct themselves rather than Rashford. Fair point. Methane Man, giving Maguire an extra contract is a joke, says Noel. And Martin Carillo says, what incomings and outgoings do you expect in the January window? Well, let's ask Ruben Amorim, because this is what he had to say about January transfer window. And he said that I will keep that to myself in relation to what roles need strengthening, but we will try and do something. Now that to me is the sentence of the press conference, and it's the sentence of 2025 so far from Amorim. He speaks a lot of sense. He even talks about leaders in this interview, which we'll talk about in a moment. But that to me is the most significant update we've had so far. Because when we talk about Manchester United, and we can talk about new deals, and we can talk about selling players, and we can talk about Rashford, and we can talk about Maguire, and we can talk about results, and we can talk about Liverpool. But overarching all of that, what is the one core truth? The one core truth is that our team's not good enough, and they don't suit Amorim's system. How do you solve that? You can't polish a turd, and you can't jam a square into a round hole. So the only solution here is we've brought a manager in that plays a very distinctive style of football, and we have a squad that in the main can't do it. So the one thing we've got to do is bring players in. Above anything else, we've got to bring players in. So when the manager says about strengthening in January, I will keep that to myself, but we will try and do something. Well, at least we're trying to do something, and at least he is saying it publicly, because that's all I want. I've heard Rangnick say this, and they didn't. I've heard Ten Hag say it, and they didn't. We just needed to hear Amorim say it. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but yet again, it's just good communication and a good relationship between the manager and the fans, that he is in tune with we and what we want and what he wants. We know we need players. And Amorim has just acknowledged that we do, and hopefully we can do something this month. But he is clearly, as we are, looking towards Ineos and saying, are you going to do what needs to be done? Will you do what needs to be done? And that's where we are. Let's see what that is. I think players have got to go first. I think we're fully aware of that. As I said, at least he is acknowledging publicly that we need to do it. Ahmad, welcome to Members Club. Thank you very much. Another year of Maguire. Is this Glazeronomics, says Raja. And Patrick Lynch has given us a super chat as well. He says, the strategic review surely had a restructuring of the wage ceiling base at the club. Isn't that why this new board was brought in to do? No negotiation with Maguire is poor business, even to a layman, says Patrick Lynch. Red Army, I knew he'd be here. I think he might actually be related to Harry Maguire. I've always had my suspicions that Red Army, and actually, makes good comments, but I do think you're related to Harry Maguire. Maguire has been the best captain post Sir Alex, and United were at their best and closest to winning the Premier League with him. Saliba in this mess would be worse, says Red Army. Mate, I actually think Maguire was shit when he was the captain. I think he's been better without it. Glenn C says, triggering the extra year just means they can do what they did with Fred and Wan-Bissaka in previous summers if they have to pay him out. And Jace says, I'm actually somewhat worried about Ahmad's contract. I wonder if he's putting himself in the shop window, maybe overthinking it, but nothing would surprise me anymore. I mean, look, never say never, but that's not what we're hearing about Ahmad. I think he will sign a new contract. Malp said Red Army is Maguire's mother. Look, I think in relation to Ahmad, it just, look, I'll tell you what I think. And then you can think what you think, because that's the way it should be. What I think with Ahmad is that he will sign the contract and that it's never been in any danger. And because Ineos and the Glazers are so blurred, I hoped that we would have Ineos and we would have the Glazers. I think what we have is Glinios or Azers. You know, I think they are so merged together that a lot of things that we've listened to over the last few years are now being repeated through Ineos. So I actually think Ahmad's contract will be announced towards the end of January, and it will be like a new signing, because that's what we did with Anthony Martial a few years ago. We desperately needed January signings, and we announced Martial in late January had signed the new contract like a new signing. So I think that's what they're doing with Ahmad, because they could have done it at the end of December and then everyone would have had a nice Christmas present. But now we've got Ahmad's going to sign in January when we should be signing players. So we've seen this before. I've seen this movie before, and I think that's what's going to happen. I might be wrong. That's just my opinion. And on Glazers and Ineos and Glinios, it's important to acknowledge that interview that Sir Jim did with, I think it was Andy Mitten. In that interview, it was asked of Sir Jim Radcliffe if he had a plan to buy the Glazers out at any point in the future, and he said no, it wasn't on the agenda at the moment. So just remember the accounts out there on Twitter who lied to you, because there were accounts out there on Twitter who were apparently in the know, who were telling people that Ineos were good for Man United and don't worry about the debt and don't worry about the Glazers, because Ineos will just get their foot in the door and by 2026 they'll have bought the Glazers out. 2026 is in 12 months. And Sir Jim Radcliffe in 2025 is saying he's got no plan to buy the Glazers out. So I feel sorry for those people who fell for that, because there were people telling undecided people that Ineos will buy the Glazers out within 2 years. It's never, ever been said by Sir Jim Radcliffe when he bought us or now. He has never said he wants to move the Glazers on, and he hasn't got a plan to do it either. So I seriously wonder what went on behind the scenes with Amorim's transfer. We're supposed to have football people above him, yet they hoped for a miracle, says Elliot. And Lewis Buckley with a super chat says, got my membership after 6 years of watching the United stand. What's your take on Osman? Would you prefer that deal in January or Gyökeres in the summer? I like Osman. I've always liked Osman. We will have done videos on Osman years ago. I've always been a big fan of his. I've done multiple Man United career modes over the years with Osman in the team. It feels a little bit like yesterday, but he's still mid-20s. So I'd be very happy to bring him in. And And I think that I would be happy to do that deal if it involved Marcus Rashford going the other way. I don't know whether it'll happen though. Harry Maguire says, potentially selling a player like Garnacho at his age for manager's system when the usual tenure of a United manager is 2 to 3 years doesn't sit right with me. I've seen the Garnacho story resurface this morning, but it's an old story. It's at least 48 hours old. I told you about Garnacho a week ago that it's not set in stone that he's definitely going to stay. There has been a bump in the road with him and Amorim. And if the right offer came in, it might be something that all parties want to do. I just wouldn't be surprised if Garnacho became a really important player in Amorim's system. I also wouldn't be surprised if everybody decided to part ways very, very soon. So I just keep your eye on that one. Let's see what his involvement is against Liverpool, because at the moment he can't get off the bench, and at the moment he's not even the first winger coming off the bench a lot of the time. So anyway, let's carry on with Amorim's press conference. This is what else he had to say. Asked if anything had changed with Marcus Rashford, he says it's the same. He's not trained because he's ill, but he's like every other player. Asked about Liverpool, he said, we are in a different context to Liverpool. They're a strong team, but like I said, we'll do what we can to win the game. He said that against Newcastle, the start against Newcastle cannot be repeated. That is clear. Massive problem for us, not just this game, but when I arrived, we scored goals in the first minute, but now that's changed. We have to be prepared for a strong start from Liverpool. The glow-up for Amorim was crap. And the fact that that glow-up has got worse is shocking. I mean, look, some of you probably already seen it. If you haven't, check it out on That's Football. Me and Robbie have brought back win, lose, or draw. Check it out on That's Football. But I was talking about, like, obviously as an Arsenal fan, Robbie would love us to win on Sunday against Liverpool. And I said, look, I don't think we will. But when I look at United over the Christmas period and before, so many of our goals are actually preventable. They're not necessarily goals where we're being carved apart by good football. We're just making stupid errors ourselves, not marking people, not switching on. And that is scary when you've been here for a month, that we're actually starting to play worse. That is very, very scary. Well, Amorim actually had something to say about that, and I agree with this. He was talking about leaders stepping up. He said, I think it is not the one thing of our team, it is all the teams. If you want to be a top team, you have to have leaders. We have that in the dressing room, but they have to step up. We need the guys that are more experienced to help the younger players. So I think that's a direct shot fired at the more experienced players, that we have got a lot of younger players and the experienced players need to step up. Now, who would those experienced players be? Well, Rashford and Casemiro are not only experienced, but they're our biggest earners, and they literally down tools, so forget them. You've got Bruno, who is getting himself sent off, so he needs to do better as a leader and as a captain. He said that Harry Maguire can do more. I think people like Martinez were given the captain's armband the other night and had a stinker. He needs to do more. De Ligt's only been there a few minutes, but he's going to have to step up, as is Mazraoui, because they're both mid-20s themselves. Delot's mid-20s. So Onana is a fucking mid-20s goalkeeper as well. A lot of these players we're talking about are underperforming. Delot, Martinez, Onana. So I think Amorim is right. There are people 25 and over who are performing really, really badly. And they need to step up because, yeah, let's not lie about it. Mainu's not been at his best. Rasmus has not been at his best. Garnacho's not been at his best. But they are young. There are players in their mid-20s and older who are playing as bad or worse. And what's their excuse? We need them to step up. I mean, one of the only players that's been really consistent, who you would say doesn't need to be a leader, is Ahmad. And as Epemi says, there's not really a single leader amongst them. And that is a massive problem for a football club of the stature of Manchester United. But also, it's a massive problem for a football club that is looking to rebuild and is 14th in the league. Goldio says, Mark, I think you misunderstood my chat yesterday. I just meant no player is exempt from criticism and everyone is accountable for the team. Also, really glad you're doing some shows with Robbie Goats. Thank you, Goldio. Hope you're doing well. Jared says, is Red Army stupid? Sounds like he is. No, he's just a massive fan of Harry Maguire. If Seb could type and do super chats, I'd be suspectful that it was him. I seriously, I've done that one, thank you very much. Delo has really disappointed me this season, says Mario Franco. He always seems confused on what to make the right runs. Cheers to the whole United United Stand team. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you as well, Mario. Hope you're doing well. Legend of the chat. I think with regards to Delo, the biggest offensive thing about him at the moment is that every team we play don't respect him. They literally leave him free on the left-hand side, hoping that we'll pass the ball to him because they want the ball to go to Delo because they're not scared of him. Like, they don't mark Delo. They leave him for the diagonal from De Ligt or Maguire or Bruno, and that is a tactic from the opposition. They want us to go to Delo because they know when the ball goes there, nothing's going to happen. He's going to shoot or he's going to pass it backwards. So that's the biggest problem you've got with Delo at the moment, is that the opposition just don't respect him. They don't see him as a threat. So that's a worry, isn't it? He's playing every single game and the opposition don't see him as a threat. So we need to solve that. TK Crow says, we need a Carlos Tevez style attacker and a Gattuso style midfielder would completely change the team mentality. 100%. Well, you've got two very big personalities there in two positions that we need players in. And I think we've spoken about this collectively for a very long time. And I think that it's not a problem to repeat it, because until we solve it, we have to repeat it. We need to stop recruiting talents and start recruiting talented mentalities. If you look at Sancho, if you look at Di Maria, if you look at countless other players, there's no doubt that they were talented, but their personalities did not fit this football club, and that is why Amorim is sat there saying we haven't got enough leaders. Now, if I wanted to be really harsh, and it's nothing to do with Amorim, you've got the manager of Manchester United. Actually, I think sometimes people skirt around the issue. Let's just say it. It's an embarrassment. It's an absolute embarrassment to the Glazers and Ineos that the manager of Manchester United is sat there saying we don't have enough leaders, and yet we've got the second biggest wage bill in the country. That is an absolute embarrassment. Now, many journalists out there don't think like that. I don't know why. They don't think deeper than the headline. We do. The manager of Man United is sat there saying, I don't have any leaders, and yet we have the second biggest wage bill in the country. That is a disgrace. I could understand the Southampton manager or Kieran McKenna at Ipswich saying, at this level, we lack leaders because my team is a championship team trying to keep its head above water and we lack leaders. And you'd go, that's completely understandable. You've come from the championship. It's understandable that you don't have the experience for this league. Manchester United have been in the Premier League since its inception. We've won many of them. We have a huge wage bill. We have spent hundreds of millions of pounds, and we don't have Ipswich and Southampton have got more leaders than we have. How have we created this monster? How have we created this mess? How have we created this group of multimillionaires with no accountability? It's a shocking shame on the structure of the football club that they've assembled an expensive, highly paid group of people that can't lead. It's embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. And I'm sure Amorim looks at it and goes, I can't believe how much money you pay these people, and they simply lack the basics of a modern footballer. They have low IQ, they have no leadership, and they have no accountability. They are absolutely shit. And that's where we are. And this could be a massive problem against Liverpool. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Amorim is talking about it going into the Liverpool game, because if you can't get up for a game like that, then you're in big, big trouble, really. Constantine says, no leaders, Mark. The mentality of the squad is low and our strength of schedule currently is extremely high. We're facing top 6 teams. I think we've got 8 games in January. We haven't played a game in January because we played on the night before New Year's Eve, but I'm pretty sure we've got 8 games in January if I just have a look at this. Man United, where are we in the league? Yeah, 14th. Still there. Yeah, we've got Liverpool on Sunday. Then we've got Arsenal the week after. So that's 2. Then we've got Southampton on the Thursday. That's 3. Brighton on the Sunday, 4. Rangers on the following Thursday, 5. Fulham on the Sunday, 6. No, we've got 7 games then. 7 games. 7 games in January. That's a lot of games, though. That is a lot of games. Look, it's a lot of games for Manchester United, but it's got to be a big month. I mean, I actually look that's basically what Amorim had to say. We've spoken about Rashford, Maguire, the transfers. It's funny because I think there is a lethargy that happens after Christmas naturally. You probably have it in your home lives, in your work life, in your relationships, in your friendships. You come out of Christmas, it's all or nothing. It's consuming, it's exhausting. There's a lot of food, a lot of drink, a lot of time on your hands. It can make you feel a little bit bleh. And Manchester United can't afford that, because I actually think that how we conduct ourselves in this January transfer window will set the rest of the year up. Like, the summer transfer window will come and go, and we will do business, and I'm sure we'll go on tour to America, get a bit, been there, done that. But how we start this year in January is going to be so important, because there are opportunities right there in front of us. We've got toxicity in that squad that we need to move out in the next 3 or 4 weeks. We've got 1 or 2 players that we need to bring in the next 3 or 4 weeks. We're 14th in the league. We need to be in the top half of the table in the next few weeks. The Europa League is kicking off properly now. We need to start improving. We need to start playing better football. Our next 2 games are Liverpool and Arsenal. We can't just go into them and put our hands up and get beat 5 or 6-0 in both of them. We've got to put in at least 1 good performance in the next 2 games. So, Victoria Bishop with a super chat. Thank you. Nuno Mendes major injury warning signs already. Osman is already down tools for Napoli. The club just doesn't get it, says Victoria Bishop. I think both of those points are fair, Victoria. I think they are. What I would say in response to that is there is no such thing as the perfect signing, and a risk is fine if it's a calculated risk. We've just got to do better. That's what we've got to do. How many signings do you think we will make, Casper? I think certainly 1, ideally 5, but no. Look, I think we'll get 1 in. I would like 2. Don't get double D's here. Normally an intelligent comment. Let's see. Don't get some United fans already on Amorim's back. He's come in and started to do what we all know needs doing. Anyone who thought this would include not losing games is crazy. Get real and support him. Thanks for your super chat, double D. I think one of the problems in football is patience. We need to be patient, but it's one of the hardest lessons to learn. And if you look at the Casemiro and Rashford situation at the moment, they need to go. And they need to go now. But the longer they don't go, the more some people's brain will go, well, maybe we should give them another chance. We may as well use them while they're here. And then you lose the impact of just get rid of them. You've got to be, it's not just about getting rid of them, you've got to be quick. You've got to be ruthless. You've got to do it quick so that fans don't have time to think about it. You get rid of them, you get them out, and you move on. And the problem we have at the moment is that we're still trying to do that. And those players, I think, will go. But the longer it drags on, the more people start going, well, maybe we should give them another chance. Maybe we should be picking them. And I think that is a problem because United are just so bloody slow at doing things. I worry Amorim could be gone soon. I don't trust Ineos, says Caitlin. Well, I hope that's not the case. The only signings we'll make is signing autographs, says Red Devil. Josh Waring says, Happy New Year and spot on, Mark. Amorim as a former player must be disgusted by the wages wasted on entitled players. Zero professionalism or respect. Happy New Year, Josh, and a very good point. Thanks for being a member. If we win against Liverpool, will that stop this agenda-driven relegation articles from journalists? Also, league will be interesting, says Akil. Mate, I saw that Pratt on Talk Shit, Gold Shit, talking about Man United losing 8-0 to Liverpool. And I mean, it's the same as talking about relegation. We're not getting relegated and we're not going to get beat 8-0. Those things are not going to happen, and we shouldn't be inviting them. Manchester United against Liverpool last year were going to get beat 8-0 and we got a 0-0 draw. It was bloody horrible to watch, but we got a 0-0 draw. I think we're in danger of getting beat 3 or 4-0. But 4-0 to 7-0 or 8-0 is just, you know, I know Michael Oliver's the referee, but that shouldn't, you know, that we shouldn't get anywhere near that. And I think the difference this time is that the players know that if they get turned over by that, they'll never be able to put the shirt on again. Like, that they're done at this football club, because nobody's going to blame Amorim. So the players know they've got to put a performance in on Sunday. How do our players go back home to their families knowing that they are not working hard enough for what they're being paid? How will they even look back at their careers where they let themselves get consumed by everything but not the love of the game? Mate, Mojo, I think you probably have quite a professional outlook on life. Some of these players will be going back home to their families who will be going, let's just look at the bank account. Look at the new carpet. Oh, look at the house we live in. Your family doesn't have to drive your professionalism, you do. The amount of successful people I know who they go home to work and they switch off because their family's not interested in their work. They're just interested in family time and holidays and how they spend their time together. But the individual who is successful in their job is driven and they drive themselves. I get what you're saying, Mojo, but these players shouldn't need to be motivated by family members that might not actually motivate them because it's not their job. They must be motivated by themselves. Professionalism and motivation has to come from within. And the big question for me is, why are so many Man United players so inconsistent and so lacking respect for themselves, this football club, and accountability? Discuss this. Rangnick was brought in to stop the cycle of managers doing their own signings. Ten Hag did some signings. We are letting Amorim do his own. Doesn't make sense unless he is long-term, says Swag. I don't know that Amorim is doing his own signings. I don't know what's happening with signings anymore because, again, we were told by certain people that Ineos were going to be in control of transfers with a board led by Dan Ashworth. Dan Ashworth's not here anymore. I don't have a bloody clue what Ineos are trying to do with transfers at the moment. I don't have a clue. What I will say is that Omar Barada at Man City will not have been deciding transfer targets, and Jason Wilcox, who experience-wise is youth football at Man City and Southampton, should not be deciding targets for Manchester United. At least Dan Ashworth had a level of high-end experience in recruiting players for football clubs in the Premier League. I don't know who's doing our recruitment at the moment because I don't think it should be Barada and I don't think it should be Wilcox. Favel's got a very good knowledge of young players in Europe, but I think we're lacking a really experienced director of football again because Wilcox's not experienced. Barada's not a director of football, and Favel's experience is young players across Europe. So where is the experience in that area? I don't know. It was looking like it was a plan, and now it's not a plan. Could Martinez play in the pivot with Agates amidst the dark scene? A lot of you think that could happen. I don't know. I know Ten Hag never wanted to do it. Would Amorim do it? I don't know. Liam says, thanks for the super chat, Liam. Seeing this team in one-off games against City makes me feel for the Liverpool game we could get a result and maybe get a draw, however unrealistic. I'd like to think we'll get a result of some kind out of Liverpool or Arsenal in the next two games. I actually think we've got a better chance against Arsenal, who are also a very good team, but I'd like to think we can just turn up and put a performance in, because I sort of get it in a way that you'll get a performance against Man City at the Etihad and not get a performance against Forest at the City at Old Trafford, because the players will be up for Man City and then they'll think they're going to beat Forest. So I'm hoping they'll be up for Arsenal and Liverpool again. But there you go. Thanks everyone for watching. 8 o'clock show tonight, yes. I'll be live with you at 8 o'clock. Looking forward to that Friday night show for the win. Always a good show. Still lots to discuss, actually, that I've sort of left out. So it'll be a good show at 8 o'clock as ever. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe. Don't forget to get over to That's Football, by the way. I probably haven't promoted it enough. Don Robbie and Goldbridge back together in the new year, doing a Friday show, win, lose or draw for Premier League predictions, head-to-head, a forfeit involved. Get over and check there what we said about the Liverpool game and all the other games. That's on That's Football. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like. Matthew Park says, when is the preview? I have got to put a preview up. I'm struggling to fucking fit it in. That's what she said. No, I am. I have got a preview. I just don't know when to put it up. I'm trying to think, because we've got an 8 o'clock show tomorrow night. So we've got an 8 o'clock show tonight. We've got a 10 o'clock show tomorrow. This is the trouble when the transfer window opens. The normal shows suffer. But we will get it up. We'll definitely get it up. Thank you everyone for watching. Take care. Smash a like, subscribe, and I'll speak to you live at 8 o'clock if nothing happens before. Speak to you in a bit.